Welcome to the Midday Show. I am Jeff Everett. He is Mark Messina. He is ready. He is pumped. He is exuberant. He is excited. He is enthusiastic. Did I run out of E's? I think I ran out of E's. Red House, Blue Senate. Pelosi just made the news, depending on what her announcement is. Which game show? This is trending right now on social media. It's on Instagram. It's on TikTok. It's on Twitter. The question of which game show would you want to go on? The big three. This is right up your alley. We're going to debate the merits of which one you would want to go on. Maybe some afterthoughts. Mark, how are you feeling today?
I'm sitting in the dark.
Could you be a bigger baby if you tried? If you tried, could you whine more?
Oh, I think I could. I'm pretty sure I could.
Go ahead and tell.
It's dark.
By the way, let's just clear the air here for 15 seconds. You like the room bright. I like the room dim.
You know why?
Okay. Nope. Let me finish.
Can I just jump? I'll give you my philosophy.
Can I finish?
No, I think it's because I think I'm bright and you're kind of dim-witted. But anyway, continue.
That's fine. Here's the thing though. I'm clearly nicer because the majority of days, guess what happens? The room is bright.
Because I usually get here first.
So I sacrifice.
I get here, I flick the switch on.
Is that true most days?
Yes.
So what usually ends up happening is I sacrifice. I let you have the room bright because I get it. Like you're old, you need to see the papers in front of you.
Well,
like I understand all of those things. So anytime the room is dim, basically it's like the 1 out of 10 days that I get the dim room, and all you do is whine the entire time.
First of all, all I do is whine. I come in, I make an announcement about how dark it is. And today I just said, I'm being kind because I was here first, but then I had to leave. And when I left, I turned the light off to save energy.
It sounds like something.
And then you basically mocked me for saving energy.
It sounds like something someone would say who didn't get their way. That's what it sounds like. That's what it sounds like. Red House, Blue Senate. I want to jump into this real quick because then I do want to do the game show thing.
I feel like I'm one of these people testifying and they've like blocked out my face so you can't because it's so dark.
It's so funny because I feel the opposite way when all the lights are on. I feel like I'm in a treatment center.
Interrogation room.
Yes, and someone needs the answers from me and they're just going to bleed them out of me with light. Here's what's happening today. It's official. It appears that the House will be red. So Blue Senate, Red House. Nancy Pelosi is going to announce her future plans after the GOP wins the House. This is coming from the AP. There's a lot of speculation that she may step aside, make way for other people. You're kind of nodding your head. Is that your gut feeling?
I think she's done.
That's what it is. I will say this. I'm not a huge fan of Nancy Pelosi. We've talked about some of my grievances with Nancy Pelosi.
I don't think anyone
on the show before. This would be. I would applaud her if she decided to step away right now because you and I have talked a lot. I think the longevity of life complicates things that we just never thought we would have to deal with. I would almost applaud her for recognizing that this may be an opportunity to walk away, knowing like McConnell just got elected the leader of the Republican Party again. I would just say this is a way where someone who maybe is ingrained but hasn't always been fully approved of her. I've never really liked her. This would be something where at least I would go like, oh, look at that. Someone who looked at the time and said it's time to walk away. I would applaud her for that if that was her decision. Not because I dislike her, but because the recognition of maybe it is time to let somebody else do the job.
Well, I think when the founding fathers set this out and when we picture societies like the Native American culture where like there was one person who was head of house and he was like the oldest living male who was grandpa and whatever. And the idea was that this person had built up a lifetime of wisdom.
Correct.
And as they were getting to the end of their life, they realized it was the end of their life and they were trying to pass the wisdom on for future generations. Mm-hmm. It seems like in society now that not only are people living longer, they stay in their positions of power longer, and they do this with the impression that they're never going to die.
Sure.
And, it is, I said this before, I think I told you I got in an argument with my father And I was like, once you get to a certain age, you should only get like half of a vote or what, because your vote, it was, again,
I remember you selling this. That, like your vote rank should almost be like a bell curve.
It should be a bell curve.
Yeah.
Because you don't, when you're way young, and the Republicans would agree with this now because the youngsters had such an influence. But when you're way young, you don't really know what you're doing. And when you're old, you shouldn't be able to vote on something that has a long-term lasting effect that you're just voting on yourself for the last year or two of your life. And
no, I'm with you.
And I remember it came to me, and for the people, because I know everyone watches every episode, start to finish. But when they were having the big debate on the school in Montoursville, should they build a new school? Should they not build a new school? And this 93-year-old lady came to vote, and she was voting against the new school because she didn't want her taxes to go up.
Yeah, I remember you telling that story.
And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm not trying to be morbid in any way. There's a really good chance that you're not going to see the completion of the building. But this school, whatever they decide, is going to have to live on for 40 or 50 years. So, but again, at the beginning, they didn't think that the elderly people would vote in their own best interest because they thought they would have a grasp on their own mortality. But it doesn't happen. And we've talked about with Nancy Pelosi, with the money she's made, with these politicians they are finding ways to line their pockets and to stay in power.
It's wild. Real quick, Stephen helped us out a little bit. She did step down, so it's official. I know she was going to talk at noon today, so she has officially stepped down as the leader of the Democratic Party. I believe the guy's name is Jeffries, who is next in line.
Jim Jeffers.
No, I wish it was Jim. If it was Jim Jeffries, I might throw some.
Is it Jeffries or Jeffers?
It's let me find it here. It's the New York representative, Hakeem Jeffries.
Oh no, I meant the comedian.
Oh, Jim Jeffries is the comedian.
Is it? Oh, I thought it was Jeffers. I didn't think it was Jeffries.
I think it's Jeffries.
Okay, but anyway, the comedian.
Here's the two things that because you had kind of mentioned this, and I've already talked a little bit about it on the show. You brought up the word wisdom. I will still beat the drum. Wisdom has never been less valuable than it is today because the world in which somebody in their elder grew up in does not exist. And so the premium on wisdom has never been lower. I'm not trying to be rude.
No, I get what you're saying.
I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm not saying that they're not valuable. I'm just saying the wisdom collected is not at the premium it once was. It's still worth something. It's still valuable. You still want to listen, but it's just not this like holy grail like it used to be in the example that you gave. The other part of this, and this is kind of why I will applaud her today for stepping away, for removing herself. I just think it's a service. And I think anybody that is willing to just make it stop being a career, I applaud them for that. So you have all of these people that have done it forever, and they've basically turned it into a career. Like a career politician is a thing. And so anybody who, even if it's too late, like I would argue Pelosi probably came to the conclusion too late. But even if you come to the conclusion that this was a service and I'm going to walk away, I will applaud you for that. Now, how much I applaud you for that is a different thing.
Well, I will say you're not in the minority of people who say she came to this conclusion too late.
Yes.
You will have lots of backers with that. I think, too, there has to be, this is one of my radical political ideas, that each party should get to vote out one person from the opposing party.
It's interesting.
And if you, the mindset would be that you get someone that nobody can work with, that is just a detriment to the process.
Sure.
And understanding that, because the first naysayer to it is they'll take your best future, maybe presidential candidate and vote him out.
Sure.
But then they're going to do that to you. That's not what it's about.
Yeah, because I agree, it's a very interesting prospect. Like, I am not against.
It's almost like in jury pool selection.
Yes.
I get to eliminate them, you get to eliminate them, and we're going to find a group that works.
It's an interesting conversation. My fear is the number, depending on who you can, the one makes it tricky, right? Because if you're a party and you're able to kind of you're able to throw in a dead dog, like somebody who just blocks everything, right? And now you put the other party, do we want to get rid of their best possible candidate in the future, or do we want to get rid of this person that's blocking everything? So now it becomes this game of like, do they start nominating people just to simply cause a problem? You know what I mean? Like blockers, essentially. Like, are you getting people in the House or in the Senate, nominating them, getting them in there, just so that way, once they're there, they're just taking the bullet so that your best candidate or your best person, your best representative doesn't have to take it. Did that make you?
No, I get it. But I think, and again, it probably would never work this way. But the understanding is you're trying to vote out. I think it would encourage people to work across lines because they don't want you voted out.
My point is they would ruin it like everything else.
They would ruin it like everything else. I'm totally with you.
My point is what you and I think is a good concept.
Philosophically,
yes.
it works, but in practicality,
you and I understand the concept. The problem
is
these people would find a way to ruin it and go like, well, if we just have this person get in, they'll obviously vote him out, and now they'll ruin it. They will. No,
you're right.
To ruin it.
You're right.
Robin says McConnell needs to go. We need term limits now. Listen, I don't disagree. I did not know this about McConnell until probably like a year or two ago. Because I kind of got to the point like, how is this guy, like, why does he keep getting reelected, everything else? Apparently, and this was before 2020, Kentucky received more federal aid than any other state in the country. So if you're Kentucky, like if you're somebody living in Kentucky, you're insane not to keep voting this guy back in.
Right.
I mean, your state benefits over. So while I don't love Mitch McConnell, but if I would never be mad at someone in Kentucky for voting for him, you'd be stupid not to. I mean, you're Kentucky, and somehow you're number one in the country in federal aid.
No, I get it.
It'd be dumb for people in Kentucky to not vote for him.
But I said this like 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever. Mm-hmm. If they took Pelosi out and McConnell out, wouldn't the whole process just be more peaceful?
I think, it comes down because this is basically this whole conversation today has just become ageism. So if I don't even know about that, but I don't even know if it's like Pelosi and McConnell. It's just that idea of like career politician. They've been in there. It's just institutionalized. Do you honestly believe that Pelosi and McConnell have fresh ideas? Like, do you think they're walking into a room and like really presenting like?
Did I ever tell you this? Colin Cowherd. This is an anecdote to add to your story. He was talking about Joe Paterno at the end, and this was not. I'm going to say it was before the whole Sandusky thing.
Okay.
Because before that even came up, when Penn State hit I don't think they won a Big Ten game for 2 years.
It was not great before all of that.
Not great. And he was talking about, Colin Cowherd's a national guy. He's talking about Joe Paterno. It's like he's 80 years old. He's got to go.
Sure.
He goes, there's nobody, and I think he said, there's nobody that looks at him and says, wow, he's just hitting his stride now. And I was like, yeah, you know what? You're right. Yeah. It is.
Well, that is, obviously, we already talked about McConnell a little bit. I did not know this either. So the leadership team in the Democratic Party, they are all in their 80s. Every single one of them.
It's absurd.
But here's what's wild about it is like Gen Z, kind of like voted for him. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it is, it's this weird thing where, you have this party with 80-year-olds. Well, and listen, the Republican Party isn't different. It's just Gen Z didn't come out and vote for them, so it's.
No, I get it.
It's a weird dynamic.
It is going to be weird because the whole thing has gotten. So I remember when Reagan was in his 70s and people were like, oh, he's in his 70s. And now everybody's in their 70s. You see how young DeSantis is now, who knows where he ends up, but sure. He's, you see how young Josh Shapiro is, who his star is on the rise. There's going to be a flip.
There has to be.
There's going to be, yes.
It can't, I don't know how to say this. It can't keep going. They're going to expire. Like they can't.
You mean die?
There's only like you can't.
Was die?
You're not going to be able to vote for 80-year-olds. Like I'm not trying to be rude. It's just.
I know.
It just is what it is. I don't know. Fascinating stuff. Real quick, let's give a shout out to Weis Markets, grocery rewards, gas rewards. Thanksgiving sneaking up. Be sure to get everything you need for your big meal at Weis Markets. You can also order online with Weis to Go. Go to weismarkets.com. Are you ready?
I got a question for you as we're thinking of Weis Markets.
Go for it.
Are you a pumpkin pie guy?
I know, but I don't. Pumpkin's okay. Like, I never wake up and I'm like, ooh, pumpkin. I'm not a pie person. I'm not a huge dessert person. Pies, cakes, like ice cream's good, but like the other stuff.
Pumpkin pie with Cool Whip on it is delicious.
Yeah, sorry.
It is.
I know I'm the one missing out. Everyone tells me.
I just thought of that because Weis Markets and the bakery's great. But it is always a, so you're not even like an apple pie with ice cream on it?
No, I have this weird thing. My girlfriend's family makes fun of me for this. I don't like warm fruit. So like pies or things that have like warm fruit with them, I'm kind of out on.
Dude, warm apple is,
something about fruit's supposed to be like fresh and cool. Like, it's not.
You take
is weird.
A slice of apple pie, just like 15 seconds in the microwave.
I get it. Again, like, I will fully admit to the public and to you, I am the one missing out. I get it.
Okay, you obviously like things like cooked green beans and peas and stuff. Do you like cooked carrots?
Yeah.
Okay, so vegetables are okay. Fruit, you don't like cooked.
I don't just.
And there aren't many fruits that end up getting cooked except apples.
But pie, and pie, anything that's pie essentially kind of ends up like being warm in a way. So I don't know. There's something about cooked fruit, like hot fruit, I'm out on. Like, it's not. I'm not saying like if I was starving, I want to eat it, but it's not what I would choose to ever eat for sure. No, I'm out on it.
Okay.
Game show. Here's the question. This is what's trending.
I'm ready.
You and I are going to really break this down and dissect it. I can tell already. So here's what's happening. You're sitting at home. You get 3 different messages or 3 different phone calls.
Okay.
One of them is asking you to be on The Price is Right.
Okay.
One of them is asking you to be on Wheel of Fortune.
Okay.
One of them is asking you to be on Jeopardy.
Okay.
It's a one-time offer. They're all on the same night. You can only do one. So there's a lot of different, let me just kind of keep digging, like presenting the premise to you. A lot of different ways to look at this. Obviously, if you have a favorite, you could just say, this has been my dream. I want to go on X. Okay, that's one argument. The second argument is there's a chance to like win a little bit of moolah here, right? Like, there's a chance to like benefit. So which one would you have the most likely chance of financially benefiting from, right? So that's kind of the second premise here. So are you a dream guy or a money guy? Are you picking because you think this is where I can make my dough? Or are you picking because like, I watch it every night. This is what I dreamed of doing and I'm going to do this.
Now I'm assuming, just to clarify,
yes,
on The Price is Right, you are one of the. You're not just in the studio. You've been selected.
Given the premise of the question, I would assume you're getting down to the microphones.
To the thing. Yes.
You are bidding on the thing.
Well, I will say this. This is Jeopardy would be the coolest, without a doubt.
Why? Let's hold up right there. Why?
Because if you get when you answer a question on Jeopardy, you just feel smart.
Okay, but you're under the assumption that you are going to get a question right.
Sure you would. Absolutely. You would get some right. You get some right every night.
Okay.
You don't?
I have had times where I've watched a segment of Jeopardy, and depending on the categories, it's a wash. Like, I forget about it.
Yeah, but you have nights where you're just killing it.
I know, but I feel like those are way further.
Well, don't get me wrong. Your odds of winning are way lower on Jeopardy. That's why it would be the coolest. It would be the most prestigious. Just to be able to say for the rest of your life, you got Final Jeopardy. And all you'd have to do is be in the black to get to play Final Jeopardy. That would be would be cool.
So you're saying this from the perspective of like, you're simply saying, this is your dream. This is what I want to do. So I'm going on Jeopardy. Like, you're not even implying you would win Jeopardy.
No.
You're just saying like, this is by far the like dream scenario.
And I
can't believe I'm here.
Yeah.
And I'm doing
I think for most of us, there's really no chance that we would win, but I think we would get some questions right.
Okay.
I think Wheel of Fortune would be depending on your bet, and especially if you've watched Wheel of Fortune a while, you're kind of good at it.
Okay.
You have your best chance of winning at Wheel of Fortune, if you're a fan of the show and you watch it. And I don't even know if I'm a fan of the show. I've just seen it a billion times because it's on.
So you think your best chance is
Wheel of Fortune.
Is Wheel of Fortune
to win. But to throw in the Price is Right, every red-blooded American has wanted to grab the big wheel and give it a spin.
Yes.
And that would be awesome.
Okay. So this is what I would say. I feel like if we're just talking about like the money, like we're talking about the statistics and like how do you win? Like what is the one you're going to go on and actually win?
Wheel of Fortune.
I would argue Price is Right is out because mathematically you're competing against more people.
But you're competing against dumber people.
You think so?
Oh my God.
That's a
Jeopardy?
fair point. So your point, okay, so hold on. So your point then is that in Price is Right, you're definitely dumber than Jeopardy. Dumber than Wheel of Fortune. I feel like just random people go on Wheel of Fortune.
No. So here's what happens. Every Price is Right. Something comes up and they're like, what's it worth? And they do the same thing every time. They look at the audience.
But isn't that...
and then the audience tells them, and then they turn back.
Yes. Isn't that an advantage, though? Because in Jeopardy, you're by yourself. In Wheel of Fortune, you're by yourself. In The Price is Right, the whole room is kind of like on your side. Like you...
I give you that.
Okay.
But if you have a clue what you're doing, you don't turn around and say...
I don't know about you. I would be horrific at The Price is Right.
Depends what it is.
I don't shop enough to really like have a grasp.
Well, see, I haven't watched it in a long time. When I was a kid, it was like Rice-A-Roni, you know.
Okay, but yeah.
Oh,
like,
once you get into the games, when you're bidding on something like a trip to Peru.
If they brought, I have no clue. If they brought out like a hutch or like here's the TV stand like that, I would. 100, 1,000, like I have no idea. I literally don't know what the cost of like standard furniture is in today's world. No clue.
No, I get it. Well, then it depends on where you're at in the line, and if you're last, you just go $1 more than whoever you thought, and then you got a chance. You got a third of a chance.
Okay, so just to back up, you're not saying The Price is Right though.
No. Wheel of Fortune.
You think Wheel of Fortune is your best chance,
and
why do you think that?
I think I'm pretty good at Wheel of Fortune, and I just think and spinning the wheel would be cool too. Don't get me wrong. The big wheel, that one, but spinning the other wheel, everyone's wanted to do that too. But I think Wheel of Fortune, I think you have a better chance.
Wheel of Fortune, a better chance.
Don't you sit there, Wheel of Fortune, sometimes and solve it 5 guesses before the yucca pops on TV?
But that's different because if you have control of the wheel and you're just kind of trying to collect the money. Like it's not that they don't know the puzzle; it's that they have control of the wheel and they're
they're greedy.
They're doing the math, saying, "What are the odds I'm going to hit bankrupt?" And they spin it, and they don't hit. What are the odds? That's why they hit bankrupt more than statistically they should. Is because even though they know the puzzle, they're trying to gather.
You don't think it's somebody underneath controlling the bankrupt?
Okay, so I've had this conversation with somebody before. How easy would it be to rig Wheel of Fortune?
You don't think it is?
Do you think it is?
Absolutely.
Okay, I think it's super riggable. Is that a phrase?
Sure.
Super riggable. I don't think it's rigged though. Here's the only reason why. In order to rig it, you almost have to be able to tell when the contestant knows the answer or not. Because you could say like, I'm going to bankrupt them, but if they're already guessing the puzzle, it's too late. And it's like, I think because of the contestant, it's harder to rig it. I think you could certainly rig the wheel, but to actually rig the game, I think is hard.
No. I agree. Okay. You can't, but as they said, because I will tell you, here's my little my second anecdote of the day.
Okay.
My oldest daughter did the test for Kids Jeopardy when she was 12.
Yes.
And she passed.
Mm-hmm.
And the way it works is, it's actually a really cool process. You get they ask a question, it's multiple choice, and there's you get 10 seconds to answer it or something.
Okay.
So you could have people looking over your shoulder, but nobody has time to look anything up.
Okay.
And literally, I'm looking over my daughter's shoulder, and she's answering before I read the question.
Okay.
And I was like, so anyway, every kid who does, and it's at one time, it's like 7 o'clock on this night. If you're registered, you get a link and you're in.
Sure.
Any kid that scored higher than 94% or something like that gets their name thrown in a hat. And then it's a random draw. It was like 1 out of 10.
Okay.
And her name got randomly drawn.
Okay.
We drove to New York City, and they have different places all over the country. And they said to us, we are not here to pick the smartest. We are not here to pick. We are making a TV show, and we want to put people on the set that we think people can root for.
Okay.
And I told my daughter right then, I was like, they're never picking you because you're too tall, because you don't look like you're 12.
Okay.
So anyway, be that as it may, when they're doing this, they know they're giving money away.
Okay.
But they want to make the TV show as enjoyable as possible. So maybe if somebody gets a lead to start.
So right now, yes or no, is Wheel of Fortune rigged?
I think am I allowed to say that without getting? I don't want to be sued by Pat Sajak.
We're in the we're in the trust nest.
I would think that it is a television program. I don't want to say it's necessarily scripted, but I think it's manipulated.
Okay. Here's what I would say.
Because you can put the brakes on the wheel.
Okay.
Put the brakes.
Here's what I would say though. What you're describing is in-game. Okay. All right. I would argue out of the three, the easiest one to manipulate the winner before the show even starts is Jeopardy. They know
because you control the question.
They know the three contestants,
and you know that
they know their specialties, and they could very easily prepare a board that
but they don't
essentially leans one way. But like you say, they don't need to. We're not like, why would Wheel of Fortune need to? Like, it's no different.
Well, let me ask this. Okay, and this is why, because I thought.
Would you agree that that's a fair point? Like,
yes.
Like neither of them need to.
Yes.
I'm just saying, if I had to pick which one was probably like rigged is too strong a word. If I had to pick one where they were manipulating it, as you described, as a TV show, right? Like their goal is to entertain. I would argue Jeopardy would be the easiest one and the most likely. That is my opinion.
Oh, I disagree, because I think Jeopardy is the most to lose. Don't you think with Wheel they could just put the brakes on? Bankrupt? Has there ever been let me put it this way. Have you ever watched an episode where someone didn't hit bankrupt?
No, but again, I think I like kind of explained why that statistically makes sense.
Why?
I said to you because they end up spinning the wheel more times than they're supposed to.
Well, obviously, the more times you spin it, but mathematical probability.
See, what happens is everyone's like, oh my God, I knew the puzzle 4 turns ago, and they're still spinning. It's like, yes, because the money is on the wheel.
I get that.
So
but you can go to a roulette wheel.
Spin it.
If you go to a roulette wheel, there'll be times that it hits black 13 times in a row, and it shouldn't.
Okay.
Shouldn't there be a night of Wheel of Fortune where they hit nothing but cash? No loser turns, no bankrupts, no nothing.
Here's what I would say. I would have to look at the wheel to know. My assumption is that there's way more of those spots on the wheel than what you or I think.
There's like 2 bankrupts.
Do you know this? Like you're not just
there's 2 bankrupts.
Okay.
And a lose a turn, and then there's other corny stuff.
Okay.
I don't. There would just be a night. I mean, there are. That would be fascinating to know too, and they probably know to keep the. What is the actual percent? How many bankrupts should get hit, and how many are hit? Because if you go to roulette wheel, green shouldn't get hit more than it does.
But what you're describing is in game.
Yes.
Okay. And you and I both agree that once the games have started, it's kind of like they're giving money away. It is what it is. Like, I'm just saying, like preparation, like leading up to the beginning of the show, it's Jeopardy without a doubt.
But
it's not even close.
The thing about leading up to it, they could if they wanted to. But here's a great
conversation, because I can tell this is irking your soul because you love Jeopardy so much.
Don't take shots at Jeopardy. Don't take shots at Jeopardy. But don't you think a Wheel of Fortune, they want all the contestants to play? They don't want the first person to just spin and spin and spin and solve it.
They want yes, but some of that is solved by the predetermination. Like they do the little puzzle and then it leads to the big puzzle. So some of that takes care of itself.
But once the game starts, They don't want the same person guess. In Jeopardy, they don't care. The Yucca Puck over here,
rigging it,
because I think they control the wheel. That's why I think
you think they control the wheel so that the same person doesn't keep spinning the whole time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it would be very difficult, not to like change the subject. I think it would be, I'm trying to think how you would do it in Price is Right. There is a phenomenal documentary. Have you ever seen this?
I don't know what you're talking about.
There's a really
I've seen lots of phenomenal documentaries.
There's a really, well, obviously about the Price is Right. This documentary is about a guy who basically studied. He had like spreadsheets and notes and all this stuff. And he knew every prize that the prize, because there's not enough prizes. You can't have new prizes every show.
Right.
So essentially he kept a log and he created like his own little digital game that had every single prize on the Price is Right until he had memorized every single prize.
Okay.
And then he started doing the games. So he started mathematically figuring out like, if this one is high, the next one's low 75% of the time. And it started. So the only thing he couldn't figure out was the big wheel.
Okay.
So he studied the big wheel and he was trying to figure out. And what he realized was most of the time, the people that get the closest, one spin. Like if you try to
you crank it.
If you crank your try, he goes, it doesn't. So like essentially he did all this stuff. He got on the show like twice. Bob Barker thought he was cheating. Like legitimately was kind of like, is this a scam? Like what's going on? They had like this whole investigation. I won't ruin the end for you, but it's a really neat, it's like an hour-long documentary about like the guy who basically broke the price.
About a guy who totally wasted his life.
You think so?
Yes.
He basically broke the Price is Right. So here's the point I was going to make.
I mean, you could either study quantum physics, you could try to find a cure for cancer, or you could study the tendencies of the Price is Right.
So in the Price is Right, I feel like I don't want to say you can't rig the Price is Right. All I'm saying is the way the game is designed, it's almost easier for the contestant to rig the game than it is for the game to rig itself.
Yeah, I get it. I don't know. I just think I'm good at Wheel of Fortune.
But like, doesn't everybody? Have you ever met somebody who doesn't think they're good at Wheel of Fortune?
I've never really talked about it, to be honest with you. But probably. I think probably everybody thinks they're good at it.
You get to meet Vanna White, which is a perk.
Vanna, pick me a letter. Got me a ticket for an airplane.
That is, I can tell I irked you about the Jeopardy stuff. Like I can tell I'm really.
No, I don't see what they have to gain.
Well,
I
listen,
did hear
the ratings go up when the same person wins consistently. Yes or no?
Yeah, but they can't.
So
if they brought the same categories to the same person, if I was on 17 times in a row and there was a category of baseball, then they would be like, wait a minute.
I wish you had this much vigor for like other things in your life than defending Jeopardy. All I'm saying is, some dude wins 15 in a row. Mm-hmm. The ratings are up.
Correct.
Would it not behoove them to bring in two other people that maybe don't have the same background as him and then put some stuff on the board for a couple of categories that may or may not lend themselves to those other two contestants? I'm not saying, like, now listen, the contestants can ring in, they can answer it. Like, I'm not implying that, like, it's a straight cheat. I'm just simply implying it would be very easy for Jeopardy to lean in to giving this guy a chance to continually win over and over again. That's all I'm saying.
I agree with that. However, if there was a pattern, mm-hmm. if they're like, wow, yesterday it was British literature, today it's world literature, today it's American literature, it's early American literature, and the guy is a literature professor from Yale, then people would be like, I think they would.
But you don't have to use the categories they know. You just have to make sure you don't use the categories that they don't know. Yes, exactly. Or don't use the categories that the other contestants would know.
Yeah, I'm
just saying.
I get what you're saying. I just think it would be too hard. Like if I was the
opposite, I think it would be too easy. Like that's kind of the point I'm making.
I don't. I think because it's so public, and they like if I was on, and they're like, oh, today's category is Major League Baseball, and tomorrow it's college football, and the next day it's pro football, and the next day it's after a while you're like, well, the guy's a sports. I agree. There's a sports category.
I agree with your sentiment that they don't have, like, they're giving away money. They don't have a lot to give. Like, personally, I don't think any of these are like rigged. But I think you think the Wheel of Fortune actually might be like stacked.
I don't. I just thought of it a little bit ago because I'm like you, and I can't wait to Google percentages. I thought that bankrupt got hit way more than it should.
It does. Well, but it does. Like, it's not.
Then
I'm
there
not even
has to be an
disputing it.
explanation, and it's not bad luck. It's not pressure.
No, I
It's-
think the explanation is that you get these people that statistically should have stopped spinning.
But it doesn't change the mathematical probability of being hit.
Okay, I disagree, because if I'm at the wheel and I spin it 3 times and I haven't hit bankrupt because I've put letters up on the board and I still control the wheel, right?
Correct.
Every time I spin the wheel, my probability goes
Well,
up.
obviously.
So I understand, like, your perspective is like the overall probability. But here's the thing. When you have people doing extra spins because the money is on the wheel, obviously bankrupt is going to hit more than it should.
Correct.
But I don't think the probability's off. I think because they keep spinning it 2 or 3 extra times and then they hit bankrupt, the probability is correct.
Well, then that's what I would like to see. Obviously, if you spin it 20 times as opposed to 10 times, you're going to hit everything more. My question is, mathematically speaking, bankrupt is supposed to happen 8% of the time or 12% of the time or whatever the case may be. And over the history of the broadcast, does it hit more than that?
Mm-hmm.
And if it hits 19% of the time and it's only supposed to hit 8, it's not because of pressure or anxiety or whatever.
Let me ask you
there's
this.
a reason.
If the bankrupt was weighted, if the bankrupt slots are weighted, would you care?
As a viewer?
Like, as somebody, as a viewer, as a contestant, as a whatever, like,
I don't care.
would you care if they were weighted?
Nope.
I don't think I would either.
I don't care.
I don't even know if I would look at that as rigging it. It's a wheel, you spin it, the wheel, there's no way the wheel is perfectly balanced. There's no chance.
Did you ever see the movie Quiz Show, by the way?
No.
If you've never seen Quiz Show, you should watch it.
Okay.
It's a different, this is an American true story, I guess, or based on true story. It's a little bit ish of Slumdog. You've seen Slumdog, right?
Yeah.
They coached like when we ask you a question, I'm sure they did this in lots of. I think Clint Eastwood actually directed it. I'm gonna say 80s.
So this is not a documentary. This is
this is a real movie.
This is a.
And they were. Why? Why do you laugh at that?
Because I said this is not a documentary. And you go, no, it's a real movie.
A documentary is not a real movie. It's a
No,
documentary.
I understand. It's just funny that you use something you use to describe something as not a documentary as real. So go ahead. So it was just funny.
It's a real movie.
I know.
So anyway, they're like, when we ask you a question,
yes.
if you know the answer, don't blurt it out.
Okay.
Sweat, dab your forehead, like, bite your lip and ponder and all this stuff, and then give it, because we're making a TV show. And they realized that there was some dude that was on that the audience loved, and he was winning. And the same thing you're implying with Jeff. They wanted him to keep winning. They started giving him answers, and then it became a whole fiasco and scandal. Okay. It's called Quiz Show.
It's funny because you had no interest in my documentary, but the real movie, it's very interesting. So this is a Clint Eastwood directed? Or
I don't know why I said that.
Okay.
I think Eastwood directed it.
Okay.
I could be wrong.
Okay.
He wasn't like the star.
I'll look it up. 90s-ish?
I'm going to say later 80s, early 90s.
Okay.
It was the event took place in either like the 50s or the 60s.
Okay.
I think, wasn't there a game show called the $64,000 Question?
No idea.
I don't know maybe the game show was called Quiz Show. I don't remember, but I think the movie's called Quiz Show.
Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? I would be horrific. Not good at multiple choice.
Because you're dumb.
That's what in a couple of the comments people brought up. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
It's fun, but you know what multiple choice does? Gives you a chance.
No, that's fair.
All you need is a chance.
Maybe. I'm just a horrible test taker, and part of that I am convinced is like the whole just multiple choice. I really am. I'm an awful test taker. Are you a good test taker?
I think so. I don't know.
I mean, people are either good test takers or they're bad test takers.
I think I do decently well, although I did not do well in the verbal part of my SATs, so I don't want to talk about that.
See what you did there?
Do you remember what you got on the verbal part of your SATs?
Do you not understand what you just did?
What?
You didn't do well on your verbal SATs, so you don't want to talk about it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
nice. No, I don't. Have I ever told? So I took the first time I took the SAT. I took the SATs twice.
Uh-huh.
I got the exact same score in math twice.
Okay.
And I went up 10 points.
Okay.
So I'm like, whatever I paid, 3 hours. I mean, there's few things in life less fun than taking a standardized test. I mean,
Okay.
let's be honest. So I got up on a Saturday morning, drove to wherever.
Mhm.
So you get there early, you do all this stuff for 10 extra points.
Yeah.
Did I feel like a moron?
Yeah. I took them once.
I should have taken them once.
I did it once, got the score I needed to get in, and that was it.
No, I took it twice. Went up 10 points. Yay me.
Thank you guys for watching the Midday Show. Be sure to go to NorthcentralPa.com for all of your local news. And thank you to Weis Markets for being our title sponsor of the Midday Show.
And there's actually an intriguing football game tonight.
Which
Titans and Packers. Packers are on death's door, and Titans are better than kind of. It is not a train wreck of a game for the first time in a while.
That's good. Good for Amazon.
Yes.
I'm happy for them.
I don't think you are. That sounded insincere.
No, thank you for coming in today. I was late. You were not. Also, you will not be here tomorrow.
I will not be here tomorrow.
So we will not have Mark tomorrow. So thank you guys for watching the Midday Show this week. And thanks again to Weis Markets. I'm Jeff Everett. He is Mark Messina. We will see you guys